Alright, and welcome everybody to probably my first ever audio broadcast. I'll be going over some of the ins and outs of the Division beta since I got invited and they were so kind to give me the chance to try it. My name is Alan, also known as Aller0, and I'm going to be going through the intro scenario of the Division beta. And probably afterwards I'll do some poking around in the system, pick apart, the ins and outs of what we have access to, and give you guys a taste of all the interesting little things that you can do in the game that we have access to so far. So without further ado, let's start a new character and get to work, shall we? For the purposes of education and just to kind of let the scenario play out to see, graphics and everything, for the intro, what I'm going to do is just kind of let the scenario play out. Probably won't talk a whole lot because the NPCs will accomplish plenty of that for me. And once I hit a certain point in the intro scenario, I will get to work going over the ins and outs. First things first, they give you the character customization screen, which there isn't really a whole lot to customize as yet. You get to choose your gender, male or female. You get to select your hair color, your markings, your accessories, but for the beta, the only thing that you actually get to select is a randomized character based on all the attributes that you can later customize. So I'll roll through a couple of these and give you guys an example of what that looks like. Character models actually look pretty good, and they give you a little bit of play with getting a feel for how your character looks from a couple different angles. Who do I feel like playing today? Oh, I don't know. How about somebody really old and gruff looking? How about that? A grizzled old war vet. No gray? No gray? That's another problem with randomly generated character creators, is you don't always get what you're looking for right away, so you have to, I should have gone with him. Damn. Fool around with it a little bit until you get something close to what you're looking for. No, you're too dashing, friend. You look like Handsome Jack. Come on, give me something better. And of course the black guys. I'm surprised that all there are for hairstyles so far is cornrows. I haven't seen dreads or anything like that for any of the characters. He's not so bad looking. Alright, fine. Bald Space Marine it is. Let's go.
Hey! Just hold on! Come on back! I need you! You're more okay than me. Shit. That explosion took out the commander. We have a job to do. We're still gonna do it. It's just...
Landing in 1 minute. Should be able to see it coming up on my right.
Found out a little more about the first wave. They're all either dead or MIA. So this is up to us. That's why we need to get it together, right now.
JTF 6-8 to tower, visual Hudson. Yeah, 2 division agents on board. That explosion was their right end. Okay, clear to land. JTF 6-8.
Usually you need some time to know if you can count on someone. Well, we're out of time. My bet's on you. It has to be. I hope to God I'm right.
Welcome to Hudson Piers. I'm not sure what you're looking to get out of this. Everything behind this gate is a goddamn war zone.
So who's in command here?
Captain Benitez was in charge. He was leading ops to the post office, but we lost contact when he left base this morning. If he's still radio silent by tomorrow, there's talk of pulling out.
No one's pulling out. We're taking this city back. Get whatever gear you need. I'll catch up with you.
Good luck out there, young maiden. The quartermaster's your man. You'll find him just inside the gate.
Can I get a stretcher at the end of the dock?
I don't get it. Are we evacuating or what? Who the hell's even in charge?
Look, I don't have all the answers. Don't get pissed at me. I just do what they tell me. I just can't wait to get the fuck out of
That's
here.
the fucking problem. Right there.
Hey. Stay with me, man. Nah, look at me. Damn it, look at me. In the eyes. We're gonna get through this. You hear me?
Holy shit. Did you see that? Did you even fucking see that? Oh my fucking God.
Come on. We're safe now. It's okay. This is bullshit. We can't just leave Manhattan. My brother and his whole family, they live up in the Heights.
I know, man. I mean, it's bad. It's real bad. You just give up and take off, you know? I mean, what does that even say about us, man?
You need to step through here, pal. You gotta make sure you're clean. This virus is equal opportunity.
Brooklyn's not supposed to be as bad. Those goddamn gangs don't control everything.
Not yet, anyway. But I heard things are starting to go to hell there, too. Raising supply drops, BS like that.
You know, I get why we gotta wear this shit, but honestly, it's like being wrapped up in paper mache. Can't get shit done. I feel goddamn helpless. You good to go, okay? I gotta tell you, I don't envy you going back into that mess. I'm getting out the minute I can. Good luck to you.
The Joint Task Force New York has issued the following warning. Martial law is in effect. For your own safety, stay in your homes. Evacuations have been suspended until further notice.
I'll pay through all it.
Public health officials have confirmed that a hazardous biological threat has been confirmed in your area. At this time, the threat has been declared a Category A bioweapon agent and is considered to be serious and life-threatening. It is highly contagious and can spread from person to person.
Okay, so first thing you're going to notice is the arrow that's right above my head, basically. If you've ever played Dead Space, it's kind of reminiscent of the mapping system that they have in there. It'll point you exactly where you need to go, and it'll kind of follow you and reroute based on where you are and what you're doing at the time, which is actually pretty neat. You'll also notice that a couple of player characters just ran by me, not paying me a whole lot of mind, which is probably for the best anyway. This area that you start in has a couple of basic setups for you. It's got a gear vendor over here, a weapons vendor right over here. I never noticed the matchmaking guy before. And then these crates, whenever you see them lying around, are your resupply points. They're littered all over the place, but they're not necessarily easy to spot unless you know what you're looking for most times. So keep an eye out for those. Situation reports.
You look tired.
These.
Look, I hate to be the one to tell you, but we got so much to do here. So remember, wool is best in this weather, not synthetics. Listen, they got me doing this radio business because I got the sciatica, but you can count on me to give you the info you need, honey.
Yeah, anytime you see a situation report, they have them on bulletin boards sometimes for people as well. They'll give you a list of side missions that you can do, help you find gear, raise your levels, things like that. But yeah, Camp Hudson's where you start out. You don't stay here for too long because they want you to help get the base of operations set. So without further ado, let's go get that little mission taken care of. Oh, here's the board that I was telling you about a second ago. Situation board. It'll sync and it'll give you mission objectives and encounters that you can pick up along the way, but I'm not really going to focus too much on that yet. There'll be plenty of time and plenty of videos for that later on. Oh, one other interesting thing too, for any of us who used to play Halo once upon a time. Remember how in Halo 2, when you got close to somebody else, you could hear them talking on the mic? It's like that by default in this game too. So keep aware of that when you're playing in places like the Dark Zone, where there are not necessarily hostiles everywhere, but unknowns everywhere. Because people can hear you vocalize on the mic if they're close enough, and they can use that to their advantage against you if they want to. But yeah, the mapping system's pretty neat. Besides the auto locator that'll lead you where you're trying to get to in terms of destinations, you can set your own points on the little map HUD that we have. As you can see, this is where we started out from Camp Hudson right over here. Path is going to lead us pretty squarely into the center of this area.
From the street, we're pinned down. Where's my backup? I've got no one to send you. We've got wounded. We've got guys going over the wire. There's no one coming. I'm sorry. I don't care. Anything you got. Anything. Get off the radio and get yourself here. They're breaking through. We don't have enough to hold.
And that's also something that's kind of neat that I never noticed before either. When you have a mission pending, you can actually just kind of move over, and if there's radio chatter, they'll give you a little something interesting to listen to, which is cool. So how about we go lend a hand to our brothers in blue down there, and oh, another thing. Whenever you enter a new area, just like in a lot of other MMOs and online games, you gain experience for new location discoveries. So keep that in mind. You'll always want to be uncovering parts of your map.
Hey, watch your back, friend. A gang's just been by here.
Maybe I got some, maybe I don't.
Oh, and another thing that you'll notice when you're walking by people in this game is a lot of them are very paranoid, or they sound it at least. But there's another thing that the people randomly do, and I'm kind of hoping I come across one as we walk toward our mission objective. The citizens in the city themselves are random events also, and on occasion,
Thank you for what you're doing.
if you walk by one...
What do you think you're doing?
Come on, there's got to be somebody out here who'll do it.
Don't tell me you're going bad too.
Oh, hello.
Guess somebody got here first.
So, yeah. Hostiles all over the map. You might want to watch where you're walking. And they do tend to show up very randomly.
Alert! Intercepting JTF radio traffic.
Taking small arms fire! Small arms fire! Hooters have us in their sights! JTF hearing this? Please respond!
Tracking signal. Analysis complete. Uploading coordinates. Warning. Hostile forces approaching.
We got tangos inbound!
They fight like rats.
Eliminate the bastards! Go get them! They can't stop the things! Here's our chance! Let's kill those assholes! We're all gonna die,
That was a mistake. Ever do this quick and move.
Target is secure. No more hostiles detected.
They fight like rats. Great shot.
I'm glad you showed up. Hopefully that'll make them think twice about hitting the next JTF patrol they see.
Stay frosty, boys. Alright. Anyway, where were we going? Where were we going? Where were we going? Good question. Where were we going?
We've got multiple hostiles! We know that the base of operations is under siege from whatever criminals have taken over Madison.
You should take it easy.
Dispatch, this is Division Agent Fei Lau, empowered and authorized by Executive Order and DHS Directive 51.
Whoever you are, we're under an all-out assault. I'm not sure how much help you... screw it, we'll take anything you can give us. How are you on my comms?
You got no reason.
We've got your back. Just try not to shoot at anyone who's trying to help you. Over.
Alert. Patching into local JTF radio channels.
Unit 43, be advised, you have incoming division agents as backup to your location.
About damn time you get us some help. Get in there right now.
Foster, we need support on the stairs. Martinez, move up on the flank. Go, go, go!
Okay, another couple of things to keep, to be aware of. This is a cover-based shooter, third person, so, you know, same rules apply. You don't want to be exposed to probably being shot. But one thing that's noteworthy about this one that I haven't seen in any other third-person shooters is the method. In Gears of War, which is probably the example at this point, when you're pointing at cover, if you hit the X button or the A button or whatever it is on the Xbox, you kind of slide towards the cover. And while that is true in this as well, there's one interesting little wrinkle that they added that I hadn't seen yet that actually kind of works nicely for certain aspects of the I'll show you. Notice how when I point at the different objects or things that I can take cover behind, it kind of highlights it and gives the prompt with X on it. If you hold down the X button, you'll automatically kind of maneuver to that cover position. It's kind of neat, and you can break that maneuvering that auto maneuver at any time just by moving or not holding down the X button anymore. And one thing that's kind of cool about it is you'll basically roadie run straight toward whatever the cover is when you do it. Oh, whoops, that's one of mine. Yes, I shot him in the hand. No, I don't care. Oh, there is also a kind of roll evade. Just double tap the X button.
Dispatch, situation outside is now under control. My official report, the division saved our sorry asses.
Thanks for the report, Bravo Squad. Stay alert out there and keep it frosty. I'm glad you made it.
Now let's rebuild our base. Go on in and have a look around. I finally got some transportation, so I'm inbound. Let's do this.
Now, after the firefight, you're going to want to keep an eye out for these little beams of light. They will appear in different colors depending on what kinds of loot or what levels of loot they drop. Standard World of Warcraft rules apply. White for common, green for slightly uncommon, blue for rare, and so on and so forth, I would imagine. I haven't seen anything above blue just yet. They'll also have little spots on the ground where you don't actually have to actively pick up the loot. They'll just kind of pick up money or accessories or whatever have you. Let's see. That looks like everything. Your base of operations. This is pretty much where everything begins, so I'll take you through it one step at a time. Base of operations is at the bottom of this plaza right here. One entrance. You just walk straight in. And as interesting as this is going to sound, this is actually
air ventilation
a
and purification
you
systems
cannot walk
online.
any faster
Contamination
than I'm
levels
walking
lowered
right now. And once you've gotten to the other side of the hallway, it kind of evens everything out for you.
Agent, we need our base up and running, and we need to show the people of New York they're getting their city back. Our base of operations has potential, but right now it's a piece of shit and we've got no one to staff it. To get this place where it needs to be, we need people who know what they're doing. Like doctors. There's a virologist running a field hospital over at Madison Square Garden, but the whole area's gone to shit. With her, we can get our medical facilities online. Without her... The JTF commander, Benitez, is out in the field and he's gone offline. Bring him back. We need him to set up a functional security wing, and it'll do a hell of a lot for morale. We've also got to restore basic services. We need power and the intel the grid can give us. They had a guy working on that, but it sounds like he ran into trouble patching us in. Without him, it's lights out. Isaac can map itself to each of the wings in the base and sync their progress so we can have a bigger picture of what's happening here. And the more stable this base is, the better shape the city will be in.
Okay, let's go get our base of operations booted up.
The medical wing is a wreck right now. Once we get that virologist over here, we can build up a staff, investigate the origin of the virus, and start getting more supplies. For civilians, but for us as well.
And then each of the wings that you see in here, there's different sections where you can, where you add things that you can do and upgrades to that facility. You'll see that a little later once I get everything booted up.
The tech wing has obviously seen better days. But if you can get Rhodes back here, he's apparently got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Former PMC, I think. Knows more than you think he does. I suspect he'll be very useful. The security wing needs some love. And Captain Benitez. The JTF love the guy. He can mobilize them and help us get the intel and firepower we need to get all these hostiles off the streets.
Okay. You.
Well, so you're a division agent, huh? Great. Now, don't dwell on all the death and carnage around you or the fact that so many have tried to do what you're about to attempt and failed and
Someone
died
saw
what
Joe
surely
Farrell
must
moving
have
his
been
people
a
into some
horrible
abandoned
death.
construction site.
Sure.
Well,
They have more support than
figures.
you do now, but so what? Fate's random and heartless. Nothing you can do about that. Stay positive. I'm just, real glad it's gonna be you out there in the field and not me. But I'll let you know what we got. Okay?
Awfully cheerful welcome.
Hey, what are you looking for?
One more situation board. Check. Alright, let's go meet our commander-in-chief, or whoever this lady is.
Hey. Bad news. I'm not gonna be able to get out there. Not with my goddamn leg like this. I'll do what I can from here, but it's not the same. You have no idea how much I wanted to be in the field. I trained for a scenario like this my entire life. But it's worse than anything we could have imagined. You know how they won't let you get too close to anyone, so it won't mess you up when you're finally activated? Well, I did that, and it didn't fucking work. I'm attached. These are my people. This is my city. We're taking it back. Oh.
Look, you need to...
Yeah, okay. Okay. They're counting on us. Let's not let them down.
She's fine, really. Alright, now that the base of operations is booted up and that quest is over, I'll show you around the place a little bit. Your stash is right here. You're going to want to get used to seeing this a lot. You have your inventory, the stash menu, and then extracted, which is everything that you pick up and extract when you're in the dark zone. You can maneuver around this pretty easily. L1 and R1 takes you between the three menus. Looks like they don't start you out with a whole lot, but I picked up some decent stuff while I was out there, including a suppressor, yay. So since I have a suppressor and I'd like to equip it, I'll introduce you guys to the menu as well. You have your sub-menu for your character. It shows inventory right at the front, which is where you're going to be spending the lion's share of your time, if I was going to guess. Your abilities menu, which is where you customize your character's R1 and L1 skills for combat, as well as your perks and all that stuff that kind of gives you a differentiation from other players. Intel, which is your progression tracker, shows you all the story missions and stuff you've done. Group management, which is probably one of the more interesting elements that we hadn't heard a ton about before the game's beta released. I'll give my impressions on that very shortly, but I want to get to introducing everything else first. The map, which you can use to basically select your mission. It's the same one that you can bring up.
I spent 6 years in medical school. I don't give a shit what you saw on TV while you were jerking off to soap operas in your mom's basement, but setting a bone isn't pretty. You want your buddy fixed? You get your gun out of my face.
Is that a threat, bitch?
I'm just telling you the truth.
I should probably go rescue her.
We've got a rioter takeover at Madison Square Garden. The JTF and Sarah were using the site as a field hospital, but armed hostiles swarmed in. Now they've got the med staff as hostages. We need them, especially Jessica Candle, the virologist who is running the place. Find her, send her to the base, and clean up what's left.
Sure thing. Anyway, back to the menu. News, which is actually just news from Ubisoft, not news from in-game. Right now they have, you can watch them on Twitch, and then they have the thing where they're trying to remind you to share your feedback from the beta, which anybody who plays the beta, please do that, because that is how they actually make changes that affect how we play later. And then 3 items down here, or 2 items down here, which do not show up for the beta. Not sure what these are for yet, but I'm sure we'll know soon enough, because the game comes out in less than 2 months. So first off, we're going to start on inventory. The inventory screen looks a little cluttered at first glance, but it's actually not so bad once you get used to it. You have your primary, your secondary, and then your sidearm. Sidearms, by the way, have infinite bullets, so abuse that as necessary. Keep in mind that your sidearm, has probably a limited magazine. I haven't seen any way to upgrade it yet, but I'm sure there is. I'll start with the primary. I have an M4, which is pretty standard all around AR. I will equip that suppressor, give myself the element of surprise, and I have a holo sight on it right now, which I'll equip as well. This option up here is to respray your gun. If you're really lucky, sometimes the enemies or the people that you talk to out in the field will give you color cans that you can use to respray your weapons and stuff like that, which is actually pretty cool. Magazine, I do have a magazine mod as well. Oh, I probably should have mentioned that. If you hit square on the controller, it'll take you to the mod screen where you can basically swap out optional components for your weapon. Very, very handy, and believe me, it'll make your life a lot easier later on as you start picking up new stuff for your guns to customize them. I am hoping that I'll luck up and find a scope for my rifles shortly, but we'll see. Oh, whoops. Let's see if I have any decent mods for the SMG. Probably not.
Emergency services announcement. Remember, personal hygiene is important in combating green poison.
Sidearm.
Be sure to wash as
Yeah,
often
it
as
seems like the only thing that you can equip is a muzzle accessory, which usually is just a silencer, which is fine because it gives you a silenced pistol to use, which is always nice. Armor works the same way. You have your body armor, your face mask, your elbow pads, your holster, which does count as armor for some bizarre reason, your gloves, and then the backpack. Backpack is going to be one of the most important ones, and you're always going to want to be on the hunt for new backpacks, because one of the primary uses for your backpack is your carry capacity. The highest one that I've found, I think, so far is 35 or 36 or something like that, but I'm sure it goes much, much higher than that. They start you out with a 31 carry capacity backpack. I'm hoping I'll find something shortly so I can show you guys how much nicer it is to have more equipment slots. I did get some nice knee pads right off the bat, so I'll swap those out. No new face mask. I did get some nice body armor. I'll swap that out. And then for all that stuff that you're not using, you see how I have the extra knee pads here that I'm not using anymore? You have two options for those. You can mark them as junk with L2, like so. You can also unmark them with the same button. Or, and when you mark them for junk, when you go to a weapons vendor, which is right over here,
hey, you gotta
weapons
see this.
vendor and gear vendor, if you talk to them
selection.
and you switch to sell, you can hit L and automatically sell all the junk that's tagged in your inventory. Makes it really convenient for those return trips back to town, especially if you have a full backpack and you want to just dump a bunch of stuff quickly. The other option that you have, I'm assuming, has a lot to do with this counter right here. The crafting station, which is not available for the beta as yet, gives you, I'm assuming, the option to construct new gear or make new modifications to your gun based on the stuff that you pick up. Since the things that I have don't sell for an awful lot right now, I'll show you what that looks like. Basically, you just scroll down to the item that you have in your inventory, and you hold L1. You hold the left trigger into, not left trigger, the left thumbstick. You push it in and hold it, and it will deconstruct it into some sort of materials. Contaminated items never give stuff, which is everything that you get in the dark zone that you don't extract. So don't go into the dark zone assuming that you can just walk around deconstructing everything from materials. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. But yeah, most of the common stuff doesn't usually deconstruct into anything as far as I've seen. Usually it's rare. It's rare and above that seems to deconstruct well. But when you're looking at your options menu, everything that you have equipped, as far as I can tell, does not contribute to your overall equipment load. Anything beyond that you have in your inventory does, so keep that in mind. Next up is the abilities section of your submenu. When you come in here, the main one that you're going to start off with is your skills menu. Since in the tutorial, we'll go through the tutorial real quick. You have skills. In order to equip a skill, you just select it with X. To use a skill, you use either L1 or R1, depending on where you have it set. And there are 2 skill slots that you have, but you have to unlock the second one. Let's see what to start off with. I'll start with the medical skill, which is actually super useful. I will assign that to R1. Or no, that's the pulse skill. This one's really neat, and it's going to be one of your probably primaries going forward. Whenever you use it, and I don't think I can use it in here, yeah, I'll show you as soon as I get outside, but when you use that skill, it allows you to kind of get a bird's eye view, it's like Eagle Vision from Assassin's Creed. You can see through stuff to see where enemies are, you can see where friendlies are, and it'll give you little tips about things depending on what mods you have set for it. There are different modifications that you can add to each of your abilities, so it gives you that little bit extra, personality to your character build. One of the more interesting ones is the first aid skill, which has some really neat mods. The defibrillator one is probably going to be one if you prefer to be team medic. that you're going to want to invest in, because not only does it heal the people that you use it on, but it also will resurrect them. Overdose is neat if you're going to be going into a big firefight, because it gives you kind of super armor or a little bit extra life so you can fight off people. The booster shot one's neat, heals you, increases your damage, and so on and so forth. And then they have 3 different trees for that. They have medical, which deals with healing and defense. Tech, which seems like, you know, sticky bombs and turrets and things like that. And then security, which is defensive mods. I haven't tried out any of the security mods yet. I probably ought to, just to get a feel for how they are, but there's plenty of time for that yet, so we'll get to that later. Talents basically are your perks. These are not available in the beta, so I can only kind of guess as to what they do. They do seem to have 3 trees as well: medical, tech, and security, which falls in line with everything else. Or actually, no, talents are different. Talents look like active skills, and perks, I guess, would be the 3rd one. Same thing: medical, tech, and security. And the reason that there are those 3 categories actually relates to your loot, because if you look at any random piece of gear on the right-hand side, over where it says armor, there's 3 trees that it helps. Each one of those corresponds to one of those stats that it increases, and the more armor that you can get, the more armor of that type that you can get, the easier it is to increase one of those 3 primary attributes, and the more effective they are. Alright, I guess I'll get myself on the road. Always remember to refill your equipment, because running out of bullets in the middle of a firefight sucks, as I'm sure anybody who's ever lost a quick shoot-off with somebody can attest to. Thankfully, this mission is right across the street, so I won't be traveling too far. Oh, actually, before I even go in there, like I was saying before about cover, stick to cover with X. You can peel yourself off cover just by moving away from it or climbing over it. Circle is your kind of mantle button. You use it to climb over cover, climb up and around things in the environment. L2 is your close aim button. If you have a scope on your gun, which I do not at the moment, if you click in the R3 button, it will bring you to your scoped mode or whatever have you, in and out. This is what I was talking about before, the active sonar. It's a threat detector, so it'll tell you if there's anything in the area, be it friend or foe, and it will, with certain modifications, also give you views of items and stuff that are in the area, things like that. You reload with square, just like 90% of other games out there, and you switch your equipped weapon with triangle. Single tap will switch between your primary and secondary weapons, as so. A double tap will switch to your sidearm, which, as I said, does have infinite ammo. Useful for reference, don't forget it, may save your life. So anyway, we're going to rescue the people in the medical facility. Now here's something interesting. You can deselect the mission, you can select matchmaking options, and you can also set the difficulty of the mission, which will give you better rewards and stuff when you're doing it. Tougher enemies, better rewards. Tougher enemies, better rewards. Do it on normal difficulty for the time being.
We've got a lot of hostiles inside, Agent. They're holding Dr. Candle and her staff. We need those personnel back at the base so we can get the medical wing functional.
We'll hold here to cover your back. Then we'll escort the medical personnel when you've retrieved them.
One other thing that I did forget to mention as well in your inventory slot, you also have your character screen, which will show you your overall character stats. It'll give you information on, your damage capacity, your weapon bonuses, things like that. Pouches, this is where you keep your grenades. You have several different types that you can toggle through. Your consumables, which is, you know, med kits and things like that. Your ammunition, it'll show you all the different types that you carry, and there's, what, 5 different classes. Assault, light machine gun, marksman, pistol ammo, which you have infinite of at all times as far as I know, shotgun ammo, and submachine gun ammo. And then your access keys down here, which I'm assuming has to do with opening doors and stuff like that. There are lockpicks in this game, which I have not found any of yet, but a buddy of mine has had the fortune to find several of. There are locked doors that require either the key or the lockpick, so keep that in mind. And then your crafting sources, like I said earlier about deconstructing things, this is the list of all the different items that you can have. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different levels or grades of things that you can deconstruct your items into. Looks like gold would be the legendary stuff, purple would be the unique stuff, blue would be the rare stuff, green would be the, I don't know, uncommon stuff, and white would be common. And then the very last screen, which is your customization screen. These do not have any bearing on your equipment load at all. So you're always going to want to be on the lookout for things to customize your character with. Go with the fleece cap. Wow, I actually have a lot of stuff. Oh, that's interesting. I think I am almost positive, because I do have an alternate character, as anybody who saw me start up the stream earlier can show. My alternate character has picked up a bunch of these jackets, including this one, so I have a feeling that your appearance actually carries across all the different characters that you make. Which is actually really interesting. You don't have to recollect pieces of gear if you've found them and you want a particular look for your character. Oh god, skinny jeans, gross. I'll go with these simple jeans.
They don't let up, not even a little bit.
And the trekking jacket, sure, why not?
Best of luck out there.
Yeah. Long sleeve tee. So yeah, you can change your under and over, as you can see. Alright, so my guy's got a little bit of a custom look to him. Let's go flush out some baddies and see what we can see. Alright, you see how they get highlighted in red when I use the sonar skill? If you keep your cursor on them for a second... Oh, balls. Oh, another thing about movement. When you are sticky to something...
If you patch me into the security system, I might be able to find Candle's location.
When you're sticky to a wall or something like that, you can move around it just by holding the left and right analog stick in. It will automatically curve you around the cover until you hit like a, 180 degree turn, in which case you'd have to, kind of realign yourself with the sticky run or something like that. Makes navigating cover a lot easier. And I don't know what those little freezing things are. That's the first I've experienced that so far. And then you'll find little item containers like this. These are effectively your treasure chests from all other games. nice little way of working it in. Standard RPG mechanics do apply because this is an RPG from what they have said over and over. Still remains to be seen because we all know how we all feel about Destiny, but we'll see. We'll see. Since we're in a bit of a dead spot, if anybody here has listened to our last podcast, we were talking about how they took out the a large section of what we were assuming the map was going to contain before, as well as said that there will be no player trading, which sucks.
Patched in. Let's see what I can find. Can you see the CCTV feed? Looks like Candle and her staff are being forced to treat their wounded. That's the only reason they're still alive.
But as far as expansiveness of content, I mean, I've already, since I've been to the Dead Zone on my other character, I have seen already that there is subway systems and stuff like that. I don't know exactly how expansive the full version of the game is going to be with that. Given that New York is a pretty large city, even if you're just taking Manhattan Island or whatever have you, there should be a lot to see and do, though I have noticed already that most of the buildings are closed off and you're just mainly walking around the street. So, you know, there's always that question of, much like Destiny, how much actual content are we going to be expecting when we get the full version of the game. And that is always a concern, especially with a lot of the newer games that have come out and, you know, failed to hold up their end of the bargain with continual content, but
there's a lot of these guys, but if you use cover, you should be able to pick them off without making yourself a target.
Just one? No way. The active abilities that you equip to R1 and L1 also do have cooldowns, so keep that in mind as well. You can see that little thing flashing when I try to use it down there, because it hasn't finished cooling down yet. And I know that there's more than one threat in this place, which is why I want to use it again when I get a little closer. But they may end up seeing me long before I get to that, so... But one other reason you want to keep your active sonar ability available is because, in addition to it giving you visibility on the enemies in the area, it also gives you a nice little damage boost, like so.
Additional hostiles detected.
Oh, and since everybody probably caught what I just did a second ago, you can actually make the enemies drop their Molotovs or grenades or whatever else. So keep that in mind as far as battle strategy, because it's very effective, especially when you're highly outnumbered by lots of enemies. And another enemy type that you probably won't see for the time being, because I don't remember where they are, is there's these guys who have flamethrowers. And
additional hostiles
flame
detected.
Canisters that they have on their backs are vulnerable to bullets. So if you want a quick way to dispatch several enemies at once, and you see one of those flamer guys around,
Warning. Additional hostiles detected.
keep that in mind also. You can switch weapons. If you have a weapon that has a full magazine and a weapon that has an empty one, if you burn through your clip and an enemy's almost dead, you can trade right to the other weapon and finish the job as needed.
Candle and her staff are still upstairs, stashed in the kitchen at Kobe's.
New hat, yay. There should be a resupply box in here somewhere. Pretty sure I remember seeing one before. I'm really hoping that by canned food they don't mean dog food, because from the way that the story's going, I don't think it's been more than... I can't say it's been more than a couple of weeks since this whole ordeal would have began for them, but I could be wrong. I mean, it could have been a month, it could have been 2 months, whatever have you. Ah, there it is. Resupplied.
Word is that they've really trashed the place. It would have broken my dad's heart to see it go to hell like this. We used to watch games there together. I think it's better my folks didn't live to see any of this. But then I think about all the people doing their best to keep going. That's who we do this for, Agent. Go get him.
Boy, I wish I had a scope on this gun.
To get to Kobe's, you'll have to pass by some contaminated areas. There used to be plenty of sick people being treated there before they got shot. So be careful.
I'm gonna try and keep low so I can give myself a good vantage point.
Get the hell out of here.
1, 2.
Now that was easy. I am ready to mess this shit up. Don't got much respect for the JTF. JTF ain't no big deal. Sure that was it? I'm a survivor. Now that was easy. You don't have to take their crap anymore. Get the hell out of here. Oh, we're done here. Now that was easy. Nobody's gonna bust my balls no more.
nobody else is looking frisky. Hey, folks.
Keep your heads down and keep it quiet.
Warning. Hostiles detected.
The escort party's taking heavy fire from the roof.
Two types
they
of
can't
enemies
move
so
until
far.
you get up there and take down that gunner.
The regular firefight.
We're pinned down. There's no way we'll make it across alive unless someone can get up there and take out the big guns.
All yours, Agent.
Move, people. Back the way we came up. We've got an escort out of here if we can just keep it together.
Alright, so rescue hostages, check. That raises a lot of very interesting questions. But yeah, as you can tell, your HUD guide is incredibly useful. It'll always stay up to date, and it'll always guide you to the reasonably closest way to get to where you're trying to go.
Alpha Escort, we have an agent on the roof. Has Candle made it to your position?
Affirmative. She and her staff just arrived. As soon as the hostiles on the roof are gone, we'll get her across safely.
Set the auto cover thing pretty far away, provided you can see it.
Warning. Additional hostiles incoming.
And of course, you really don't want to dry out both magazines in the middle of a firefight because that's not good.
Warning. Additional hostiles incoming.
Oh, and as you can see, there are named enemies. That's that punch guy over there. You can also blind fire from cover. And as you can see, if you're too far away from your target when you're shooting, if you're too far away from your target when you're shooting, you do get a penalty to your damage.
Just my luck. Got the medics safely across. Candle and all staff accounted for. No casualties.
We're off to a good start, agents. Wish I could have had your back out there, but I think we make a hell of a team anyway. When you get back to the base, we'll talk to Candle, and we'll see what she can do for us.
And there's my second skill slot. So, abilities, second skill slot. I'm going to take sonar and L1 because that's where I'm used to it, and I guess for the time being I'll take the ballistic shield because why not? Seems like I picked up a couple of new pieces of equipment. As you can see, they do all have DPS scores. Much like a lot of other RPGs, don't let a raw DPS score fool you. All weapons fire different. You know, a bolt-action rifle is going to fire a lot different from an M4, from an AK. So find what you're comfortable with, and even if the DPS isn't, you know, necessarily the highest, you can make it work for you if it suits your playstyle better. Like me, I'm not a huge fan of submachine guns most of the time. Usually what I'll rock is a long rifle and an automatic, but you know, in a pinch I'll use an MP5 or something like that if it's more convenient, and that's what they start you out with, so it's good to get used to it anyway. The police M4 does not seem to have anything better than the standard M4 other than maybe color or something like that, so I will not use that. I did pick up another sidearm, which is garbage. Its damage is lower than my standard pistol. It has nothing else to offer me, so I won't worry about that. Did pick up some knee pads. They do not have the bonus to, what is that, ballistic damage, I believe. But they do have a little more armor, so why not? New gloves, total overall buff, plus they give assault rifle damage. And a new backpack. Now, difference between the old one, 31 slots versus 34 slots. It has more armor and it gives 10% ammo capacity boost as well. So this is a great upgrade to start out with. And I picked up a quick release magazine for my armor mod slot. Let's see if I can put that to use right away. No new scope, but that's alright. And I could have sworn I picked up a new hat or something earlier. As you can see, a little bit of the Tom Clancy-ness there to it. On either side. Nope. Anything interesting in here? Nope, looks like we're clear. Oh, since I walked by it the first time. This little bulletin board right here, when you first walk into your base of operations, will also display your current level of upgrades as you're going through... minor technical malfunction there, sorry about that. This bulletin board will display your base of operations upgrade levels as you're going through restoring everything to your base. What we're about to go do is restore part of the medical wing, so let's go get that to work, and I'll show you how the board changes in a second. Interesting way to use a load screen, if that is indeed what
Remember,
it is.
watch your back
Feels
out
like
there.
it.
Wish I could get out there myself.
I'm telling you. You're lucky you don't gotta work for Sarah.
Well, look who it is. Thanks for getting me out of the garden. I've been in some hostile work environments before, but Jesus. Of course, it's not like this place is gonna win any prizes either. Antique equipment, 0 staff, patients lining up out the door. This isn't gonna cut it.
We're doing the best we can, Dr. Candle. Any suggestions you might have, I'm happy to listen.
I know. Beggars, choosers, all that crap. What matters is beating this thing, but I can't do that without knowing more about it.
Here's a good place to start. Sarah is pretty sure Dr. Gordon Amherst had something to do with the outbreak.
God. That asshole. Saw him present a paper at Columbia once. He nearly started a riot. He's part of this. I need to talk to him. Anything of his you can find. Notebooks, laptops, close personal friends, I need that too. And we need to talk about live samples and antibodies. You're gonna be busy.
And you'll be?
Fixing this. Saving lives. Now if you'll excuse me, I'll get started.
Doctor. Alright. Now that that mission's complete, I can use some of what I've recovered to upgrade the medical facility. They kind of force your hand on the upgrade first time around, so I'll go ahead and just go through the tutorial, give you guys a moment to read everything.
Now that's what I call an improvement, Agent. You should charge more.
And for all intents and purposes, that is the end of the interactive beta. There is still more to see and more to do, provided you're in the mood to go get some good old-fashioned PvP time in, because that's what the Dark Zone's all about, more or less. What I'm going to do from here is switch over to my other character, since I have a lot more stuff to go do the Dark Zone with, and show you guys some more stuff in there. So hang tight one sec.
Finally, a clinic. Gotta start somewhere. We've got enough staff to start tending to the public, but we've got our work cut out for us.
Oh, and speaking of those upgrades, it's not just in-game mechanics. It actually does give you some tangible feel to the world as you're going through. You'll start seeing, as you open up new sections of the staff quarters, people getting treated for the disease or whatever have you, them taking samples. It's actually really neat. Anyway, let's switch over to my other character. This guy, sadly, is probably going to get deleted later.
I hope to see you back here soon, okay? Stay safe.
That's cool, I never noticed that before. She actually says goodbye to you when you log out. Now, let's see. How far along am I? Alright, Now, for the character that I started playing the beta with, I have some better stuff to fool around with. Hopefully I'm still in the main base. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that I'd really like to sit down and go through as far as game system and engine-wise are locked off for purposes of the beta, so I don't get to show you guys the crafting system to see how in-depth that goes. I don't get to show you, I don't know. I don't get to show you guys what those other two options in the character menu are. I don't get to show you guys any more main missions, because obviously there aren't anymore. But the game comes out in about a month and change, so, you know, if you're not too impatient, everybody will get their chance to play. I just wanted to kind of give everybody who didn't get into the beta their opportunity to have a look around and see what the game looks like and runs like and plays like and see some of the stuff that you can do. As you guys can tell, the game engine looks absolutely stunning. That Snowdrop engine that Ubisoft's been touting for the last couple of years and playing up at their E3 events and stuff like that really does look very nice. Good, I did start over. Okay. The game engine looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I have no fault to find. I'm not seeing tons of jaggies on anything. You know, the particle effects look great. I mean, hell, just look at the lighting. And if you'll notice, I don't really consider myself much of a graphics fiend. I mean, graphics aren't what make a game to me. The gameplay and, you know, everything under the hood is what really makes the game stand out. Gameplay and a great story will always trump graphics to me. But, you know, since graphics do matter to most other people, I try to at least make a mention of it whenever I do reviews and teardowns of stuff. And, you know, one of the things that you did get to see when they were doing the E3 demos and whatever have you was, you know, shooting windows and stuff, and you get to see how the glass, or how particle effects affect glass. Oh, balls. So I guess at this point, I could really just leave it up to anybody who's watching, if there is indeed anybody watching. I mean, I'd be very curious to see, or, you know, hear anybody. Bugs? I haven't really found any bugs with the game. As a matter of fact, for everything that I've seen on it so far, the little stint earlier when it kind of jittered out on me once or twice when I was doing this little section of the demo is the most that I've seen as far as any bugs. I mean, I haven't fallen through the floor. I haven't seen anybody, you know, take off into the stratosphere. What else? I'm trying to think of things that I notice as common in other games. I haven't seen texture pop in or anything like that, which is one of the things I'm most... Oh, hey, here's one of the events I was telling you about before. You'll just randomly walk up to a civilian in need and you can give them stuff.
This is perfect.
And they'll usually drop a piece of loot for you just to, you know, make your day, make you feel a little better about yourself, stuff like that. But no, so far, I mean, I played easily 6 hours in the Dark Zone so far, just, you know, doing PvP and stuff like that. I haven't run into anything horribly detrimental to my gameplay experience thus far. For those of us who aren't real huge fans of cover-based shooters, the cover mechanic might take a little to get used to, because it's not as heavy feeling as Gears of War, if you're used to playing Gears of War at all. It's a lot more light and loose than that, but once you get used to it, you can transition to cover, between covers very easily. As I'm trying to demo here for you, it's basically just point and shoot, as funny as that sounds. Yeah, maybe I will do that. If you can think of anything you might want me to try, I mean, I'd be open to that. I got nothing but time on my hands today. If you want, I can actually take us to the Dark Zone real quick. That's over here. Yeah, the stream's probably 10 or so seconds behind what I'm actually saying. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to, you know, address them in the chat. I will respond to you as soon as I'm able to see it. But, you know, I'm trying to think of things in other shooters that I've seen that were buggy or weird. Actually, there is one, I guess there is one minor thing, but I don't know if it's a bug so much as just a positioning issue, which I guess would be a bug. If you walk up to certain chests, if you walk up to a chest that's coched in a corner at a weird angle, for example, and you hold square to interact with it, if you come up on it too quick, a lot of the times you won't reposition properly, so you'll just kind of be, I don't know, stutter stepping in place for a moment or two, and then you'll realign yourself to actually touch the chest. But barring that, I really can't think of anything else that I've seen that struck me as odd when I played. Okay, so, last thing for the beta, since there isn't really a whole lot else to show besides me meandering around and gaining levels shooting at people, is the Dark Zone, which is the kind of no-holds-barred PvP type area of the game. Since we're talking about multiplayer now, I'll make some observations as to something I noticed in the menu. For group management, if you select it, you have 4 slots in your party for your friends-only group. One thing that is really cool about this game, and a lot of people, I don't know how people will react to it over the long term, but I personally find it to be really freaking cool. If somebody on your friends list is playing the game and they're near you, it'll automatically party you with your friends first. So that's one thing that you're going to want to be aware of. It's a really neat feature. I didn't have to do anything when I started playing. One of the other Half-Assed Heroes members, Chris, was playing last night along with our buddy Will from the Wally Mopped podcast. They were both on the game before I logged on, and the second that I logged on, it auto-joined me to their group, and it showed me on it showed them on the mini-map. I didn't have to worry about, you know, figuring out where they were. When you pull up your mini-map, if your friends are on it, if you hold down square, no matter where they are, it'll fast travel you to them, with a very few couple of exceptions to that rule. So I guess for anybody who had that curiosity before, it looks like 4-player co-op is the default for this game. Another thing that's really neat when you're walking around in the Dark Zone, besides the people that you are partied with, you can and will encounter other players. The other players may or may not be friendly, but you can form kind of pseudo groups along with them just by, you know, not being hostile. So when you say I walk up to somebody and I'm not sure if they're friend or foe, you have an emote menu, which if you hold down on the D-pad, you can mess with any of these. Usually what you're going to want to do is offer help, or, you know, something like that. Make some gesture to let them know that you're okay with them. If I enter a firefight with somebody and we clear out a bunch of enemies and I'm not partied with them and I'm not friended with them, usually what I'll do at the end of it is salute after we're all done. And then I'll wave or something like that to let them know that I'm okay with them and go about my business. But, you know, make use of the emotes, because that seems like, other than voice chat, because not everybody rolls with headsets, that's probably going to be the way to go. Now, when you walk into the entrance to the Dark Zone, first thing that you're going to notice is the Dark Zone vendor over here. This vendor takes different currency than the regular vendors outside the outside the Dark Zone. So keep that in mind when you're fooling around in the Dark Zone, that everything that you do in there is basically separate from the main game, with the exception of the weapons. The weapons and equipment that you go in and out of the Dark Zone with are universal, but the currencies are different. And the Dark Zone vendors typically seem to have much better stuff than the regular vendors outside. They have another suppressor that I don't need. I have another holster that's probably better than the one I'm using. Slightly. Yeah, I've noticed that I seem to come across Dark Zone currency a lot easier than I do main game currency, so for those of you who are okay with PvP environments, it might be a good idea to, you know, use your Dark Zone vendor, stock up on stuff. Yeah, that's the one I bought from her earlier.
I'll be seeing you again.
Oh, and another thing I forgot to notice. Say you're interested in buying something. You can buy and equip directly to your character by pressing L1. So it'll save you that extra step. I just always forget because most other games don't let you do it. So yeah, I got myself a new holster. And some crap gloves. Oh, and as I'm sure you heard us mention on the podcast before, it doesn't look like there's going to be any player-to-player trading as far as weapons and equipment, which sucks, because especially this being touted up as an MMO, you know, what MMO do you know that if it's co-op you can't share equipment, or you can't share something at least? You know, even if it's weapon, even if it's ammo or something like that, it's something that you kind of expect.
We're done here.
Anyway, as far as Dark Zone stuff, there's also the resupply box right here. Every single one of the safe houses and Dark Zone checkpoints will have those resupply boxes in them. For the purposes of the beta, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 checkpoints, and then there's, I think I only remember seeing the 1 safe room. Yeah, there's just 1 safe room. The safe rooms would usually be scattered all about the area. It looks like over here there's going to be another section of the Dark Zone for when the full game comes out. But it looks like it extends all the way down to Rockefeller Center from where we are now. So there'll be a good chunk of the land that's lawless for people to fool around with. The overall city size looks pretty decent. I mean, assuming that we actually do get to explore everything within the bounds of where I can put the cursor. It does suck that they said that it's only going to be Manhattan Island as far as the actual game is concerned, but who knows, at some point, you know, this is the next generation of gaming after all. We may see with DLC expansion or something, they open it up to the Bronx, Brooklyn, you know, Yonkers, stuff like that. It would be really nice. I mean, there's no reason that they couldn't expand the map, even if it takes a loading screen or a transition screen for you to sail across the bay or whatever have you. But as far as what we have now, let's take a walk.
Biohazard warning. Entering contaminated zone. Transmissions jammed. Proximity coverage only. Backup activated. System rebooted.
Okay. Now,
Warning.
first thing you're going to notice on my
zone.
mini-map, you see that red skull over there? Red skulls indicate player characters who have engaged in PvP and gone rogue. Rogue characters have a timer. I know I saw it somewhere. Yeah. Oh, hell. Well, they blipped off my map, so I'm gonna... Oh, shit. Oh. Let's see. I know I've seen him before. I think he was in here with me earlier. But as you can see, there's you're going to run into players in the dark zone. If they don't automatically attack you, you can usually reasonably assume that they're okay. So keep that in mind when you're playing with people. Dark Zone, for most of what you're going to see, functions about the same as the basic game. There's going to be event markers and stuff that you can go to where you're going to expect to find NPCs that'll fight you and things like that. There's contaminated zones where you usually see higher level enemies. Let's try that one over there first, see what's over there. Oh, and these. Anytime you see these in the dark zone, these are where you drop off your equipment to extract. That is the only way that you can get your equipment out of the dark zone. So keep that in mind when you're playing. Oh, shoot. Yeah, that emote, by the way, you're probably going to want to get used to very quickly. If you shoot at another player by accident, you get a timer over your head, and that's what indicates how long you've been rogue. The longer you are, or the longer your timer is, the more PvP kills you've done in the dark zone. It'll put an automatic bounty on you, and it'll make you visible to anybody else on the map. If somebody kills you, they get bounty points for it, and they get a little bit of bonus for recovering. Plus, anything that you have dropped, because you do drop whatever you're carrying in the dark zone if you die, anything that falls off you is then fair game. So, something to keep in mind when you're screwing around and shooting at people at random. Oh. Since I'm here, I'll go ahead and show you guys what an extraction looks like. If you have an item on you, you can fire off a flare in an extraction zone, and it will start a countdown timer to call the helicopter.
You've got a bird inbound on your position.
As you can see, the helicopter is inbound. You do have to wait until the helicopter gets here. Generally, you're going to see a lot of people scramble straight for the evac zones as soon as somebody sets off a flare, which is part of the reason that I like to joke that you're either going to find a bloodbath or a bunch of friendly cooperators working to get their stuff out. And even then, if you have a bunch of friendly cooperators working to get their stuff out, it may become a bloodbath immediately after, so be mindful of that as well. But the homing beacon for recovery will always look like that. It'll have the timer directly above it. And it doesn't matter who summons the extraction, it just matters that the extraction has been summoned. Anybody can use it once it's been summoned.
A new agent is joining your team.
Doesn't look like there's a lot of people in here. I'm complaining, less hostile the better.
Cargo pickup underway.
And when the extraction helicopter comes down, you'll notice everybody kind of crowds around this. They lower a little chain, and then everybody attaches their equipment to the chain, and then backs the hell off because nobody wants to get shot back.
15 seconds.
You have a very short window for that as well, by the way. It's about 30 seconds. But once the timer has expired, they raise all of the equipment. And that is how you secure your extraction zone stuff. That guy obviously missed his opportunity. Oh, and another thing, you can only ever summon the extraction if you actually have gear. So like this guy over here has the little cantina on his back. He has gear so he can summon.
Agent, I am inbound on your position.
Alert. An agent is leaving the team.
Chopper is inbound.
But yeah, I have a feeling it's not going to be hard to find parties in here, given how easy the matchmaking is to set up and maintain. Anybody who's in your, anybody who's on your friends list will automatically be added to your party, or it'll at least give you an indication that you can party with them immediately. Matchmaking is quick to enter and drop. It'll, you know, it's got a good interface for it. Only thing that does kind of suck is because of how active a game it is, you're probably not going to want to do a whole lot of matchmaking on the go in the field, especially not in the dark zone for very obvious reasons. If you are in a safe house or in the dark zone checkpoint, it's not so bad though. Excuse my yawn. I will definitely say this is the quietest I have ever heard the dead zone in all the times I've been in here. Usually there's a lot more shooting going on. Nothing? I need enemies. Oh, and that's another thing. Different sections of the dead zone have different levels as well. That one that flashed right here, right there, said that this is a level 7-8 zone. I was trying to find somebody to, or something to do along with this guy, but it doesn't look like we're having a lot of luck on the action and adventure part of our tour today. This may actually be the longest I've ever gone without firing my gun. Ah, there we go. Oh, and that's another thing to be mindful of. If you fall from too high a height, you do actually take damage. Didn't I just come from here? Usually this gas station right here I don't do full frontal assaults on. I usually take it from across the way. Oh, like, there's a guy with a PvP symbol over his head. Alright, see how he has about 15 seconds? Oh, yeah, they gunned his ass down. People don't seem to take kindly to PvP raiders in this. Likely for obvious reasons. Easy, easy. But yeah, you get a good party together, and basically you'll just be marauding around looking for things to do. I would assume that once the full game comes online, there'll be a lot more events and things like that happening here. Use another extraction point.
Alert.
Oh, what the
Member
hell,
of your
dude?
team has disavowed division affiliation. Your team will be marked rogue.
Oh, balls. Well. And like I said, it doesn't take much to end up rogue. And so now... God. I almost want to say this guy's just bored or something. Somebody just set off the recovery beacon. Oh hell, you can actually hit them from over there. Oh, shit. Ah, hell, I got downed. And as you can see, you can aid your fellow teammates.
Warning. Agent on your team is down. Requires assistance.
Ah, hell, they got us both. Ugh. Don't get caught. Yeah, one thing about this game that you'll find very quickly, it's not one that you're like to want to rush people with. If you try rushing people headlong, you will more than likely die before you get within an arm's length of them. It's a lot easier to creep up on people and creep around them than it is to rush them headlong. But yeah, for the most part, I can't really see a whole lot beta-wise that would lead me to believe that the game's going to have issues when it comes out. Oh, and the vendors do restock regularly, so keep that in mind.
I'm sure you'll be back.
Yeah. But yeah, matchmaking in this is almost seamless, as you can see. I mean, you can join and leave groups at a whim. You can send invites directly from the game. You can view people's profiles. You can set your privacy options, so you can have it on open group or friends only and stuff like that. So, I mean, the game is really well set up as far as I can see. I mean, I'm not seeing anything that'll lead me to believe that it'll be a glitch fest when it launches.
Don't waste my time.
Wait, what? Oh. Shit, where am I? Oh, right. I'm on the far end of the dark zone. Shit. I have to walk all the way over there to get out.
Biohazard warning.
Now let's see how he...
Transmissions jammed. Proximity coverage only. Backup activated. System rebooted.
And know the last time I tried to do this without getting into any trouble, I ended up with a firefight right in front of the Dark Zone exit. That was fun.
Now that was easy.
Taking you all out with me!
Hey, kill them all! They're all going to die. Another shot or two should do it. Hey, keep them off me! Eliminate the bastard! Watch it! This thing's hot! Gonna break!
Ow. Let's try that again. I never find fun in games when I'm actually in the mood for it. It's only when I'm trying to get away from everything that I seem to run into trouble. Yeah, especially when you start taking on Dark Zone missions. You get to a point
Warning.
where...
You are now entering a contaminated area.
You get to a point where you are only so trusting of the other players around you because things
Exiting
can very
the contaminated
quickly go
area.
south, especially when there's, you know, high-grade loot involved. Though I don't think you can actually see what loot other players have. It's just one of those, you know, I have what you want type deals.
Attention. Leaving Dark Zone.
What are you waiting for? Take a look. I got everything you need. Think about buying something next time.
Well, in any case, I think I've showed off just about everything as far as game mechanics and stuff for the time being. I think I've gone over everything the beta has to offer. So I think I'm going to wrap up my stream here. And I may jump back on later with some other stuff to stream, but this was specifically for The Division because we on the Half-Ass Heroes podcast have been talking about it for so long. We've been wanting to give it a try, and a couple of us got invited, not all of us, unfortunately. But since none of us had actually done it yet, and I don't think any of us had done a stream for it, I figured I'd go ahead and at least get something up for us. So this was Alan from the Half-Assed Heroes podcast. I'm going to be signing off momentarily. I just wanted to let you guys know. We do our weekly podcast usually Mondays, and we have it up by midweek, Tuesday or Wednesday. The address is soundcloud.com/HAHeroes or just haheroes.com. If you want to go directly to the main website, it has all the links to all of our other side projects. My name is Alan, also known as All0. If you want to catch me on YouTube, I'll have my video information below. As always, if you guys like what I do, if you like the little teardown that I did and want to see more of it, feel free to like, share, subscribe, throw some comments down there, let me know how you
Readings
like it.
indicate an echo nearby.
Jesus Christ. These people are crazy. And I will catch you guys later. Again, have a nice afternoon, enjoy the game, and if you got invited to the beta, have a blast.